Okay, welcome back, everybody. Thanks again for joining us at AIDC 21. We have, last I checked, there were 961 people that registered for this event. That is pretty incredible. Like I was talking to Brian earlier, we're really encouraged by that number. So after we're all done and the recordings are available, please share this out as much as you can. You know, we can all become better designers. This information will help everyone in our industry. Let's just get it out there and just keep doing better. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to our next speaker, Gwen Navarette Clapperich. She is the Chief Learning Consultant at Kita Consulting, which I love that name, Kita, because I think of Gwen and I are both Filipino. I think of Mahal Kita, which is like I love you. And I don't know if you want to go into that at all, Gwen, but I love the name of your consultancy. So, and I'm honored to have her here. And she actually has 2 sessions today. This first one, she's going to be talking about something a lot more practical, Microsoft accessibility features. And I thought this would be great to add to the mix of what we've been talking about so far. So with that, Gwen, I'm going to go ahead and hide myself and let you take over.
Thank you very much, Luis. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. It is actually morning here in Hawaii, so good morning or good afternoon, depending upon where you are. For those of you who need a visual description of myself, I am a Filipino woman, and I'm wearing red glasses and a black top, and I'm sitting in my home office in Hawaii with a bookshelf behind me. Today we're going to go over some. I'm not going to go over every single Microsoft accessibility feature because there are quite a few, but I will concentrate on the ones that I feel we need as trainers and developers, things that I've used in the past for some of my training classes, either live or virtual. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right on in, and I will share my screen. And so everybody should be able to see a screenshot. Can you just give me a visual or a confirmation that you can see it? Great. Okay, so the first thing that I'd like to go over is something called Microsoft Translator. This is something that I've actually used in some of my live presentations when I've done conferences in the past or I've done training classes in the past. I've actually been able to use this because it's an app on your phone, or you can also use it on your desktop. And what it basically does is it translates in real time, either closed captioning or another language. So there's about, I want to say, more than 50 supported languages here. So I'll give you an example of what it looks like. You just go to translator.microsoft.com and go to start conversation. So my language here is English. And I'm just going to start the conversation. And it will connect me to a session here. It'll have me test my microphone and all of that good stuff. And then it will actually have me present. Now, one of the things that you can do is it will actually give you a conversation code that's right up here that you can share with other people. So if I'm on my phone, I don't know if you can see my phone, there's a little icon here that says join conversation. So this is an app. And basically, if I type in this conversation code, you can also do a QR code, which we'll bring up for you. So if I speak now into the microphone, technically I can't share the microphone with AirMeet, but what it will do is it will actually translate in real time the conversation that's here, and it will actually translate into a transcript that you can download afterwards. So I apologize, I can't really show it to you live because it'll kick me out of AirMeet, but that's how Microsoft Translator actually works. And again, I've used it for many different things. I've used it for, presentations. I've used it for training classes, and it's really great for those people who have learning disabilities, people who either can't or are at low literacy or can't read English very well. So I've found it very helpful for my English language users or English foreign language users, which are a lot here in Hawaii. So that is the first tool that I wanted to show you. And if you'd like, I actually do have it on, so you can join the conversation if you choose to. It'll be on my phone. So the second tool that I want to show you is actually within PowerPoint itself. So you'll notice here's like the QR code that I put in here for Microsoft Translator. This is for a session later on this afternoon. But one of the things that I have noticed is that there are a couple things that can help you with Microsoft PowerPoint as far as accessibility is concerned. The first thing that I always recommend that people do is they use the accessibility checker, which is actually built into both Word and PowerPoint. So if you go to the review tab, you'll see here you can also do translation, but there's something here that's called check accessibility. And basically, if I just check this, or it'll basically tell me what I'm missing on the right-hand side, any errors that I have, and I purposely left mine with a lot of errors just so that you could see what it looks like. So basically, I have quite a few number of pictures on the slides that are actually missing alternative text. I am missing quite a few slide titles. I am having a little bit of reading order issues. And the great thing is that with the accessibility checker, one of the things that it can do is it can allow you to actually fix the accessibility issue right within Microsoft PowerPoint itself. So for example, if I'm missing alternative text, it will ask me to either add a description or I can just mark it as decorative. Same thing with the slide titles. I have a couple slide titles that I'm missing, and I can actually make a current text a slide title, so that will actually work as well. So that's some of the things that I try to do as far as when I do my presentations, especially if I'm going to convert my PowerPoint presentations into PDF, then it will be able to be read a little bit better by a screen reader. The other thing that can happen in Microsoft PowerPoint is actually when you do your slideshow itself. So one of the things that I always have turned on here is this under the slideshow. It says here, always use subtitles. Now I can choose which language I want the subtitle to be in. Right now I have it in English, but I can choose any one of these languages. So if I have somebody or a large group of people from another language, I can do that as well. So if I check this and say always use subtitles, when I start to share my screen or start to my presentation, then you will see at the bottom that it actually comes up with real-time closed captioning for you. And that's basically one of the things that I like to do, especially in a virtual environment. I know that a lot of platforms have closed captioning now, but some platforms don't have it yet. So I just like to have it on as a default for people to be able to use if they need it. I've also used this in live trainings as well. So not just a virtual environment, but a live training so that people can actually see it as I'm speaking. And the last thing that I want to show you in Microsoft PowerPoint is something called the Presenter Coach. And this is really useful for people who need, and I'm sorry, one second. Okay, here we go. This is really useful for people with learning disabilities or anxiety, people who need just a little bit of help, but it's actually helpful for everybody. You can actually select this Rehearse with Coach, and what it will do is it will start to listen to you and provide you with real-time feedback as you're going through your presentation. It will do timing. It will also come up with a report. So as I'm kind of talking right now, I will stop the presentation, and what it will do is it will come up with a report for me that talks about how fast I'm talking. It will talk about if I'm using repetitive language, what my average pace is over time, my pitch. But here's something that's really interesting, is that it will actually tell me if my language is inclusive. So it's not going to catch everything, but it does. For example, if I say men as opposed to men and women, or I don't use the gender neutral, it will actually suggest gender neutral language for me to use. That's one of the great things I like about this particular one, is that it actually helps me with a little bit of my inclusive language. And before we move on, I want to make sure that I'm seeing the chat. So I will stop sharing for just a moment and ask what questions you have for me at this point before I move on to Microsoft Teams.
Hey, Gwen, let's see. There was a couple things here. I think what you were first showing on screen, Regine Lambrecht was asking about whether or not support for French.
Yes, there is support for French. There is support for French. So it's actually got about, I want to say about 50 different languages that you can support on Microsoft Translator, as well as through Microsoft PowerPoint itself when you're talking about the subtitles.
Okay, cool. And then Ann Trin was asking, have you ever experienced the tag PDF file, which converted from PowerPoint was being deleted or cleared or clearing some content after tagging?
Oh, after tagging, I have heard that, but I haven't experienced it myself.
Okay. All right, cool. And then let's just see in the chat. I did see some questions in there. There's a few things going on, but a lot of it is is kind of people going back and forth with one another.
Sure, sure. So I do see a question here as to where to find. Is it where to find the rehearsal or the presenter coach?
Oh, from Wes Escalante.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so I will show it one more time. And I realized that was a bit quick, so I apologize for that. Okay. So if I am in Microsoft PowerPoint, much of the stuff that I showed you is under the slideshow tab. So the always use subtitles is over here on the right. And again, you can always choose which language you want, and you will see that French is one of the supported languages here. You can also choose where you want your subtitles to go, either the bottom, the top, below the slide, or above the slide. And then the presenter coach is here where it says here, rehearse with coach. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to change this terminology because I know Windows 11 is coming out soon. So some of the windows or some of the menu titles may change. But this one is, for now, for Windows 10, it's rehearse with coach. And what it will do is it will bring up a little bit of a rehearsal thing. And you can start rehearsing, and then it will give you a report in whatever language I believe you're using at that time. Okay. Are there any other things that anybody would like me to review really quickly before I move on? Okay. So I'm sure everybody has heard that a lot of platforms nowadays have closed captioning built into them. I will show you the MS Teams one really quickly. So let me go ahead and pull that up. So if I were to start a meeting in MS Teams, and hopefully it will work because I am sharing a camera here. Okay, might not work. But there is, in Microsoft Teams itself, there is a closed caption option that you can use. Basically, you go up to where there's three little dots and it says, please choose live captions, and it will be right there. So I apologize, it's not letting me share it along with AirMeet. So those are the things that I use as far as when I design training and when I deliver training. Now, there are a couple of other things that I use for myself when I am using them on the computer. And one of them is called the ease of access menu, which I will bring up really quickly. And I actually happen to have ADHD, so this actually helps me a lot as far as what I need to use things for. So one of the things that I try to do as far as the display is I try to make things as big as possible. So I will actually make my sample text bigger so that I can see it, because I do happen to have vision problems as well. So I will kind of put it at a percentage where I can see it. You can also make everything bigger and make everything brighter. But one of the things that I did very early on was I changed my mouse pointer. I have a very bad habit of losing my mouse pointer when I try to, transfer between monitors. Like most people, I have more than one monitor. What I try to do is the first thing that I do whenever I get a new computer is I change the pointer size and color so that I'm never losing my pointer ever again. And you can just do that by going over here, and it's a kind of the ease of access menu. I believe in Windows 11 it will just be called the accessibility menu. But for in Windows 10 it's called ease of access. And I just go over here to mouse pointer, and I can choose the size, and I can choose the color. I can choose contrast if I choose to. I can choose just a solid pointer or the outline, whichever the case may be. I just happen to choose a color and made it a little bit bigger. So this way, whenever I'm transferring or I'm moving my mouse around, I never lose my pointer anymore because it's right there in front of me. So that's one of the things that I really like to do. I also try to change my text cursor. And this is along the same lines as when you're in Microsoft Word and you're trying to find out where your text cursor is. Sometimes I can't see it because, again, I do wear glasses. So what I've done is I've actually made my cursor a little bit bigger, as well as chosen a color. So now if I go into Microsoft Word, you will see that it always tells me where my cursor is. And that's just a little visual that I have for myself. And there are a lot of things within this ease of access menu that you can see as far as magnifiers. You can also choose color filters. This is great for people who are colorblind. So if you turn on the color filter, you can choose grayscale, you can choose red or blue, you can choose red-green colorblind. This basically is a color filter that helps people who have the colorblind issues, or people who just want to use grayscale. You can also choose contrast. So for example, if you're training in something one-on-one and that person needs high contrast, you can use high contrast as well. Okay, so that's what that looks like. And then two things, because I know that we have a short amount of time together, but there are a lot of things here. There is the narrator, that is the screen reader that I believe somebody mentioned earlier on. But one of the things that I actually like to use sometimes, and this is helpful for people who like to talk as they think, or it's basically good for people with learning disabilities. For example, my son is autistic, and he likes to use this when he's dictating his papers. If I press the Windows key and the letter H, then what it will do is it will bring up dictation for me. And it should start to type what I have here as far as language is concerned. And you'll see that up in the upper corner here, up above, where it says that it'll start your dictation. And to stop it, you just click the X, or you just click the Windows and then the H button again. And the last thing that I want to show everybody is just something that I find really useful for me, which is turning off your notifications. There is something called Focus Assist. And this actually helps me with whatever notifications pop up for me, as far as, you have an email, this is going on, that's going on. I try not to let anything bother me too much as far as that is concerned. So I either turn off all my notifications, or I have priority only, which is basically I only get the most important stuff, and I can customize my priority list. This is really good, again, for people with ADHD like myself, people who are autistic, people who have high anxiety, who get a little nervous when they see a lot of notifications popping up. But that's actually something that I use for myself, and I recommend to other people when they tell me that they have too many notifications or that they can't concentrate. Focus Assist is really good with that. And I see that we're exactly at 20 minutes. So I just want to open it up for questions.
All right, Gwen, I have a few questions for you that
Sure.
I can read off in the QA area. I just love some of these little posts in chat. What was Rubina saying? She wishes she could add focused assist to her life in general. I know the feeling. All right,
I
let's
know.
see. What do we have here? Okay, so Bobby Vernon asking, was the CC feature that was demonstrated done in PowerPoint? I missed whether it was in PowerPoint or it was a part of AirMeet.
Yeah, it's actually in PowerPoint. So AirMeet does have a closed captioning policy, but I'm not sure if it's live closed captioning or if it's just for videos. But PowerPoint does have live closed captioning available, and it is again it's under the slideshow ribbon. Just check the little box that says always use subtitles, and that will automatically turn on your closed captioning for you, or it will translate it for you into another language. So that's where that is. It's under PowerPoint.
Okay. And then Erica was saying that she could not find the Teams CC options.
So it depends, I believe, on whether or not. So I have a free account in Teams, and you can't find it there for whatever reason. But if you're actually part of an enterprise team or part of that, then it's actually in the when you're actually in a meeting itself, there's those three little dots. So you click on the three little dots, and then it's called Turn on Live Captions, and that's where I've been able to find it. If it's not on yours, it should be. It's pretty much available to everybody, from what my understanding is, because Microsoft is really big on accessibility. I have a little bit of a confession to make, which I should have made at the very beginning, is that I'm not exactly. I'm a Microsoft diehard fan, which means I don't use really any other operating systems. And this comes from way back in the day when we used to have computer labs in colleges. I'm dating myself now, and the Mac lab was always full, but the IBM lab was always empty. So I would always go into the IBM lab, and that's how I really learned how to use Microsoft products, and that's where I became a Microsoft diehard person. And I just really appreciate their commitment to accessibility. They have an accessibility officer and an accessibility team, and I believe they have an accessibility member on every other team that they have. And then they also have an accessibility summit, I believe, every May, which you can find on YouTube as well, and I really enjoy that. So I admire their commitment to accessibility. I'm always playing around in what accessibility features they have. So.
Nice. Let's see, and Antrian, so it seems like you might not be able to answer this one, but Anne was wondering whether or not you can do the ease of access on the Mac.
Oh, I think that's a Windows only thing that's built into the Windows operating system. It's called, but Mac should have something similar called, it should be an accessibility options or accessibility menu. Again, confession time, I'm not that familiar with Apple products because I am such a Microsoft fan, but I believe that both the Apple and even the Android for your phone have accessibility features built into them.
Yeah, I was about to mention that Alan could probably answer that question, and there he is in chat. Go into System Preferences and Accessibility, and you should be able to find that.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
Alan's a whiz. And I am not seeing any more questions in the Q&A. And so I think you're good.
Excellent. Yeah, the cursor thing, I know that some people, once I found that, it was like the heavens opened up, and I said, oh my gosh, this is great. I don't know why. So, I mean, one of the things that I really like about accessibility is that we think it's for people who have disabilities, but really, when you think about it, accessibility benefits everybody in some way or some form. So I use things that that weren't necessarily designed for me, but I find them helpful, so I do use them. So that is the great thing about accessibility. And I want to thank everybody for your time and attention. I know it was a short thing. What I'll do, Luis, is I will actually kind of put this all on a one-sheeter, and I'll send it to you so that we can post it a little bit later on.
I love it. Thank you, Gwen. No, it was perfect. And I do think I know here on Pacific time, it's the middle of the day. So, and I want folks to have some time to also go to the virtual tables in the reception area, even do some of the speed networking that's available in this platform. So I appreciate you doing this, Gwen. I love this hands-on stuff. I know, like, even with the mouse pointer, I I'm on my Windows computer. I'm probably gonna go to that and just change it up like right after I log off here. But appreciate you coming in, and then we'll be talking about UDL in a couple hours, right?
Yep, in about 2 hours. So I'll try my best.
Okay, and next up we've got Amy Lomolini. She's going to be our next presenter. We're talking about buy-in, so don't miss that one coming up in about half an hour. And with that, thanks everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.